Hello, everybody. Um, there's a reason why I'm doing this. I want to see if I get more action at this time than I did before. So I'm going to wait for people to come on and we're just going to chat a little bit. I'm thinking that every Thursday evening, um, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock Eastern time, I would go live. I think that would be beneficial. I would still do videos, random videos, but Thursdays, 7 to, starting around either 7 or 8, every Thursday evening, I would want to go live. And I want to see if this is the best time to do it. So please, and I would still make random videos, as I said, regarding subjects that interest me. But I like going live because I get to interact with people. And live gives me the opportunity to see what people are saying in the chat and I can reply to it, things like that. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. And I just hope everybody, you guys like my videos, subscribe, things like that. It's really not that hard. And if you have suggestions to give me, please, by all means, give them to me. Um, I'm just, I'm just, it's been a very rough week because I am moving to the US. A lot of you might know that. So it's a hard process, but I'm doing it. I will be moving. The time has come, but I will not abandon. And, you know, life is very busy, but I'm still here. So, who all is online here right now? Let's see here. I'm sure because it's Thursday right now, a lot of people are still in bed, are in bed right now, I suppose. But I do want to know if you're online, send a chat or send something. You want to send something positive, send it. You want to send something negative, send it. If you want to put something in the chat that's negative, well, go ahead, do it. And we can duke it out. But I'm just wanting to tell you guys that I do want to put something on, go live every Thursday evening. So, because I really enjoy the lives. Who's the one person who's watching right now? Why haven't you liked the video? Like, man, like. If you don't like, then tell me you don't like me. I don't care. Let's go. You know, that's how it is with me. I'm somebody who's very, very open, but I think that's very important. So if you have something to tell me, just do it. If not, then okay. But the news of the day has been very interesting. All this weird stuff going on. Um, it's funny. I was thinking about how I've been so upset with Donald Trump because of for two big reasons, but one reason that I'll share with you is that he mocked us about the Epstein files. And he ran on releasing the Epstein files. And oh, are you still thinking about the Epstein files? Yeah, of course we're thinking about the Epstein files. That man was a evil person. He needs to be punished. But it looks like he got the message, and he's been slowly, his government is slowly releasing things related to Epstein. And his government released email correspondence between between Prince Andrew and Epstein, which have now really completely disgraced Andrew. He's no longer a prince anymore. I mean, can you imagine? I don't know when this has ever happened before. The man was born to a queen, and he's not entitled to be a prince anymore because of what has happened with this whole Epstein thing. And I think it's a good thing. I will say this: I don't think it goes far enough. You know, people are talking about taking away his home, Royal Lodge, and taking away his titles and stuff, but that's small beer. I don't care about his titles. If he has done wrong, he should go in front of a judge. There should be an inquiry. Something should happen. But it looks like Donald Trump's government got the message, and now um, Prince Andrew's ruined because of this. Looks like more people are watching, and I just want to say hello, hi. I'm just kind of bantering right now. I don't do this often, but I am going to let you guys know that I do want to go live um, every Thursday evening. I'll still make videos and edit and stuff, but I do like the lives because it gives me an opportunity to speak without having to edit and all this stuff, and people can put stuff in the chats. So I'm just trying. The reason really why I'm live right now is to see if this is a good time to go live. Um, I did go live later, a little bit earlier, but there wasn't a lot of traction. Now there's a lot of traction, but you know, please feel free to write something in the chat, even if it's hello. I don't care. We can talk. We can do whatever. If you have suggestions, but you know, the most important thing that I want to ask you guys to do is to like my videos if you like me. If you like my video, if you like me and you've followed me for a long time, and the biggest thing, I don't even ask for donations. You notice that. And I have a PayPal, but I don't even ask for that. The biggest thing I'd like is if you like, because that will help put my videos further and further to the front of the queue because I haven't been on YouTube for such a long time. I haven't been on YouTube for a long time. So I'm playing catch up now. So when you like my videos, even if you dislike my videos, it helps to put my stuff at the front of the queue. And that's all I'm saying. And I appreciate people who have been with me for a long time. I appreciate people who will like my videos and help me out and stuff. That's really all I ask. And if you're not a subscriber and you like my overall message, you like my overall vibe, subscribe. It's really not that bad. But I do want to go live every Thursday. I mean, do people think that that's a good idea to go live every Thursday while still making videos about topics that are important to me? Like I make random videos whenever, but go live every Thursday, and I would choose a topic and just kind of talk about it for about 20 minutes, maybe less than that, on live every Thursday at 7 o'clock, I would say, 7 o'clock Eastern time. I think that would be all right. Let me know. But I am still in the process. In fact, I'm at the final phases of moving permanently to the States from Ontario. And so It's been very tough. What does Lady Luck say? Sure, Thursdays are usually cool, winding down on the week. Okay, good. Then I think so be it. You are one of many voices run with live. Join the chorus. You are one of many voices run with live. Join the chorus. I think that sounds all right. You're fortunate you have the means to get out of this liberal. I've been thinking about that. I've really been thinking about that. And part of me kind of feels a little bit bad because a lot of people can't leave Canada. And Canada is really in a bad place right now. This is my country, Canada. This is my country. And I'm leaving the country which I was born into. I do have US citizenship, but it's not the same. It's really not the same. It's something different when you are born, like when you are popped out into a country. It's like no matter what happens, Canada will always be my home. But I have this opportunity to leave a place which is so dysfunctional. And I feel very bad that there are people in my situation, worse than my situation, who can't leave. And what's going to happen to them? It's like they'll have to keep calm and carry on. And I see a comment here that says, "You have a choice, use it." I mean, I am going to do that because this is why and remember, you guys have to remember. I used to be one of those people who say never leave your country and don't go to America. I used to call America teddy bear land. And a lot of people wanted to go to Florida and I would say that Florida is Cinderellaville. I'm not going to say that anymore because people at the end of the day need to live. I mean, I'll tell you what's going to happen if I don't start new somewhere else. I will probably. I don't want to be over dramatic, melodramatic, and say I'll die, but I won't go anywhere. Like it will be. I'm a 32-year-old guy. And I have a very, very good career. And I'm very sorry to be leaving the people that I'm leaving. But a lot of the money that I make goes to the government. The other half of it goes to bills. It's like I cannot live like this anymore. I had a plan for my life in the future, and that plan did involve Canada. It involved making a business. It involved even getting into public service. There's no way in hell I could do that. There's no way in hell that even if I had the public support, which I think I do, there's no way in hell the people who run this country would ever allow someone like me who has been so rebellious. And I'm not talking about Rebel News rebellion. I'm talking about so rebellious. And the Adamson barbecue standoff, the anniversary is coming up, and I'm going to have a big show about that. I'm gonna have a big show, and I've been watching some of the clips of Adamson Barbecue. There is no way someone like me, and you know what my major is media studies. You think I'll ever get a job in media in Canada? And absolutely not. And I have a very comfortable life. I do. I can't complain, and I'm proud of myself for doing that for myself with the help of many people, family and friends. But there is no stinking way that I would be able to prosper, not just survive, but thrive. White picket fence, family, this and that in Canada. That's not going to happen. That is absolutely not an option for me. I couldn't advance in a big multimedia company, which is a media company in Canada, with my record. I know I could in the States. Is Canada a nation or a prison without walls? You'll have to answer that question. And I don't think you're a bot or an AI. I don't think so. You don't come across the words that you're saying don't come across like that. A prison, I mean, for people who can't leave, I guess it would be a prison. At this time, the premise is that a sitting government is above parliament. This is absolutely ass backwards. The thing about it is that the situation is, if you can leave, I think that's probably the best option. And if you can't leave, I think the best option is to do the best you can. And I will assist with that. That's why I continue to do what I'm doing, because I don't want to just leave and think about myself. I will continue to try and be the voice for people who don't have my privilege, because this is a very, very bad situation that we're in. And a lot of you guys are older, so I may not be able to, I may not be speaking to you because you've established your life before things really hit the fan. But there are a lot of young people right now who were really hurt during the COVID-19 lockdowns, and who thought like me and who fought like me, and who are in a bad position today. They can't get a job right now. They cannot get something big right now. They send in their CV or their resume to a boss. What, continue be the voice? Per, I don't know what that means. Continue be the voice privilege. I'm not the voice of privilege. I'm far from privilege. I don't know if that's what you were saying. Maybe not. But anyway, there are a lot of people who did what I did, who don't have another avenue to turn to. If they hand in their resume, their boss is going to look at them. Oh, your ideology does not fit our. How can people live like that? And things will reverse themselves in Canada. You mark my words. You mark my words. I promise you, because people are not going to live on their knees forever. We had a very tough time with the COVID-19 lockdowns, and people fought back. And these big major corporations are denying people jobs. They're denying people money. They're denying people a chance to get themselves built up. And people are not going to live on their knees forever. You mark my words. So, those of you who can't escape, just take comfort in that. Lady Luck says it won't get better. Get out. And no, the shot hit the fan when I got out of university with debt in 1991. There were no jobs unless you knew someone. I had to get skilled trade. Wasn't easy. Well, and I agree with you. But the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because throughout time in the morning, since the Big Bang, human beings, intelligent people, intelligent life forms, we're not talking about bugs or insects or spiders. We're talking about intelligent life forms. They do not tolerate living on their knees at the bottom of a feudal system for too long. I promise you that. Something changes after a while. That's what I'm saying, Lady Luck. I promise you. And it won't be today. It won't be tomorrow. It won't be next year, probably. But it will change. I promise you. These people who have this system, they're on borrowed time. And I have made the decision that I have to go, because it's not about me anymore, also. I'm engaged. I've told you this. It's not about me anymore. I'm engaged. I am engaged. I am in a career right now. I have other people to take care of. I cannot just sit here and say, you know what, I'm going to fight the good fight. I'm going to fight. I can do that. And I have the strength and the stamina to do that. I don't mind living under a bridge or living in the streets or living in a shelter. I can do that. I've done it. But I can't do that for someone else. So I have to go. And I understand that the situation is rigged. I understand that the liberals keep getting elected again and again and again by these baby boomers who have made it. They were spoiled, and not everyone, not all of them. They've made it, and they want to hurt people who are trying to make it as well after they destroyed the economy. It's true. I had to change it all up because I could not live the way I was living. Get out while you can. You can't leave us behind. The power of the crown, but give the illusion of the public as representation, which it does not really have at all. Lady Luck, I wish I mean, it's up to you if you want to let me know what is your situation right now. Like, I'm just curious. You don't have to share it with me, because and I agree with what you're saying. I know what you're saying is true. But Lady Luck 5248, if you could tell me what your situation in life is right now, I am genuinely interested. Um, and I know that there are a lot of people who are going to suffer because the people who run the country are vindictive as hell. They are vindictive as hell. I mean, if they can do certain things that they can do to like organizations like the Rebel, I mean, Ezra Levant, and they're not perfect either, but a very established guy. I mean, you really can't hurt him at the end of the day. But they don't give him loans. They don't do anything for him. If they can do that to them, what are they going to do for somebody who really stood up to their tyranny? I've seen it, and the thing with Canada, the economy in Canada is such where the businesses, the corporations, the job makers are controlled by very, very few individuals. Very few. Look at the banks. It's like four banks in Canada. Look at the supermarkets. Really, only four or five supermarkets. You got Loblaws, Superstore, Sobeys. Um, used to have Zellers, but then they were taken over by Target, and Target flopped. So, C- Canada is run by either monopolies or oligopolies. They all sing to the same hymn sheet. It's called the Laurentian elite. Have you ever heard that term before? The Laurentian elite? Canada is run by the Laurentian elite. It's either politicians, professors, or business people, very few business people, monopolies or oligopolies who run the country, who sing from the same hymn sheet. And if you go against that hymn sheet, they are going to punish you. You will, at best, be on welfare for the rest of your life, or you'll be working some pity job where you're working paycheck to paycheck and you're living in some hostile or some apartment somewhere. Let's see what Lady Luck said. Widowed at 43, working my ass off, full time, part time business. Now 58, still working, paying 53% earnings to taxes. Grateful I have my health. I'm still alive for one kid. Paid for it, so he did not have some home loan. He got a skilled trade too. Well, Miss Lady Luck, I will say this. You sound like a very smart person. You sound like somebody who has gone through some hell. And I mean, I'm reading here, you say you have some kind of a business here. You have a business? I mean, for you to have a business in Canada, I look up to you for that. If I'm wrong, let me know. But what kind of business do you have? I mean, you don't have to tell me, but that's impressive. That's very impressive in Canada. And I would say, I mean, at your age, 43, widowed, sadly, you and I mean 53% earnings to taxes. That's more than half your income, but you're still standing, All I can say is that I salute you. You have two spinal surgeries and can at least do electrical part-time. Electrician, jeez Louise. Electrician? Wow. And I'm guessing you're a woman too. Whew. You would be a treasure other places. I mean, a female electrician who has her own business. Working in an office because can't work as an electrician with two surgeries. Of course. I mean, do you have any employees? But I mean, I'm sure you do, but wow. A lady electrician who has her own business. Whew. Okay, Arana, I will be silent. Well, I don't know what that means, but why are you saying this? If your sovereignty of self is deemed irrelevant by others, you are no longer the master of your very being or self. You shall be discarded to the debris of humanity as compost by those who own you. Power of I, I don't know. I don't know what you mean by you'll be silent, but if it's because I am not responding to what you're saying, I really don't understand what you're saying. I'm sorry. That's all. I see that you're talking about sovereignty and the crown and things like that. I'm trying not to offend you. Let others speak. Well, you're speaking here. Faye Knox, long time no see. Long time no see, brother. I do want to make I do want to go live on Thursdays every evening. Well, I'm letting others speak. I'm replying. I'm replying to people's messages. Lick Windus 4831. I like these live streams. Yeah, I think they're very fun. They're very interactive. No employees, just small jobs paying ESA contractors fees, and it helps. Not on a pity pot. Just told my kid that he needs a trade here or he's screwed. Well, I will say this. I think that the trade that you are on, sister, sorry. Sorry, instead of brother, sister. Sorry, Faynon. Yeah, the trade that you have is very important. I mean, you're an electrician. So you are pretty set. I mean, when SHIT really, really, really hits the fan, I mean, you're the one who they're going to have to call to get the lights working. So you are okay. My suggestion to you is to hold on to what you have, continue to spread the word because you're here. You seem to probably agree with some of the stuff I say. Uh, Spread it out. Make speeches yourself. Make videos yourself. Go to protests and stuff. But just understand that the country that we were born into, and I'm sure that most of you were born in Canada, the country that we're born into is run by a very select group of people called the Laurentian elite. They're the people who run the four banks that we have. They're the people who run the four supermarkets that we have. They're the people who run the three insurance companies that we have, or you know, have you noticed how monopolized or oligopolized our businesses are? The few people who are in politics, that's who run the place. You don't have a situation where some maverick comes in and shakes up. It's impossible to have. And in the 60s, Trudeau made it almost impossible because in Canada, if you want to become a colonel in the military, the military, if you become a colonel, you have to speak English and French. And I have nothing against French. In fact, I admire the French. I admire Quebecers. They're very patriotic people. They want to protect their language and everything. In fact, they're more patriotic than English speaking Canadians. But that was what happened during the 60s. The first Trudeau solidified the control. You can't be a colonel in the Canadian military if you don't speak both English and French. And you can't be prime minister if you don't speak English and French. Look at the Supreme Court. Half of the Supreme Court, no matter what, I believe, have to be from Quebec. That's from what I've heard. Can you imagine that? I mean, look at the population of Toronto, which is the biggest population in the country. 90% of those people have no chance of ever getting anything or going anywhere in the government of Canada. Alberta, you go, please. You guys in Alberta, you guys don't even Alberta. You live in Alberta, please. You are you are it's almost like you're not even part of Canada. And this is why if you have a chance to leave, just go, I think. Let me read some of these comments. I've been looking for work and it's virtually impossible in this labor market. I've taken on my own work. Good. And I want to know how you've done that. What do you mean taking on your own work? Did you start a business? Are you doing hustling? I think I'm very impressed with the people in Canada who have managed to find their own work and make their own money. I think that's the best way to go. I, and the reason I'm asking for you to explain how to do this is so that you can convince others. You've been cutting grass and snow removal. Well, you know what? I congratulate you. And I think that's what others have to do. If you can't leave, figure out some hustle. And by the way, there are a lot of Canadians who need grass to be cut and snow to be removed. I'm telling you right now. Simon Ian Video Productions. I commend you for that. To do your own money. Um, let's see what else is happening. What other comments? He's a sheet metal worker, LMAO. Yes, when I got out of this office job, I'm going back to the hall for health and safety. You do what you got to do to take care of yourself, lady. Look, I mean, you and this other guy, what's his name, Simon, who's cutting grass. You guys are self-starters, so you do what you got to do. Yes, I told my grandsons they need to go into the trades. Yes, you have to go into the trades. Trades will never disappear. We always will need people to cut our grass. We'll always need people to shovel our snow. We'll always need people to fix our toilets. We'll always need people to fix our plumbing. We'll always need people to fix our roofs and our roads, and we'll always need that. No matter, I mean, even in Haiti, even in North Korea, they need plumbers. I mean, they don't need a lot of whatever in North Korea, but they will. No matter where you are, where there's civilized, intelligent civilization, they need plumbers. So the trades are the best thing, and if you can do it yourself and go into your own business, I think you really got it made. I'm a warrior for protesting. Ottawa, yellow vest, been there. The business environment here is an oligarchy. It sucks. Of course it is. It is. It is. And you got and we need to stop that. That's why I will always be here with my voice. Anyway, I don't want to spend too long here and keep you guys up too long. We have catered to Quebec to keep them from separating. You know what? I think at the end of the day, I think the provinces need to separate. Quebec needs to separate. Alberta needs to separate. Saskatchewan needs to separate. And I think that's probably what's going to end up happening. Because not because that we hate Canada. I love Canada. I love the country I was born in. But the people who are running our country, I would go so far as to say they're the ones who hate Canada. They're the ones who have brought this country into the ground. And they've done it so long and they have created laws where their power structure is so secure that the only option is probably to separate. So it's their fault, not our fault. We wanted to build this country. I always wanted to build this country. My dream, my goal was to build this country with my intellectual property and to grow, but I can't bloody do it. Yes, the Laurentian Club, the vile individuals. You're right. The Laurentian elite get it all. ABBA, the winter losers, takes it all. Wastes of millions translating everything. Yeah, 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 that is a waste of translating everything. And I do agree with, well, I don't agree with bilingualism, but the only reason I don't agree with it is because of the way it's been done in this country. And the fact that you can't be a colonel, you can't do certain things in the government, in your government, which you pay for, which says is your representative. You are supposed to be the owner of the government. And I would say 90% of the population can't do many different things in the government because they're not bilingual. That is wrong. And that's another reason why I think the country needs to separate. A healthy society is divided far more by what it will not tolerate than what it will say no to, rather than an unrestricted yes. And I agree with you. It's easy to build clients. I would say that it is, as I said, we'll always need people to cut our grass and to shovel our snow. If you're looking for work in get a trade, get your ticket, loan, your own business. Yes, Charter of Rights has now been relegated to ply toilet paper. Of course it is. It's toilet paper. Of course it's toilet paper. It's worse than toilet paper. Last time I checked, the English won the war. I guess you're referring to Wolf and the battles of plains of Abraham. Why the English became Canada became a British colony. Hey, look, I love the French. I love the Quebecers. I'm not anti-Quebec. I'm not anti-French. And I like the fact that they're included, but I don't like the way that the Laurentian elite, the people who run our country, they're not doing this because they care about the French. They're doing this to keep most of the people down, not just pure English speakers, but pure French speakers. I mean, you can't be a pure French speaker in Quebec and get anywhere in the government. So I don't think our enemies are the Quebecers or the French. I think our enemies are the people who run our country and who've been running it for years and who will continue to run it until we go our own way, whether it's creating our own businesses, doing our own trades, going into the trades, uh, doing things to make sure that we keep most of our money as possible, using the tax system, the tax code to make sure that we keep as much of our money as possible, using cash, listening to people like Arana Nation and Rebel News and other things like that to find out other ideas to circumvent the system. Because we're in a very, very interesting time in our life right now. We have the ability to fight back. We don't just have to run away. I mean, I'm running because, I have the ability to do so, but that's not the only way. And I still feel bad about it. But I've explained myself. We need more like you. Thank you. I support you and your ideas. Wish we had more like you. Thank you very, very much. Charter, what charter? The charter has the depth of a puddle, just like Justin. It's so deep, it's meaningless. Canada is a general population prison from coast to coast to coast. All I can say is yes. I'm sorry for not being racist, but newcomers here to do not want to be to for the most part consider a skilled trade like electrician. They won't do those jobs. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I do see a lot of newcomers who take on. In fact, one of the criticism that I'll have for native-born Canadians is that they will complain about newcomers who will, take on franchises like Tim Hortons and do things like that. But you guys can do that too. I mean, it's hard and it's probably harder because we have a government that wants to cater to foreigners, but it can be done. Look at the suggestions even here in the chat. Look at the examples here in the chat. Rene Levesque was a genuine patriot of Quebec. I agree with that. I don't think I'd agree with everything Rene Levesque did, but I do agree with that. Hello, last time I saw you, Doug Ford's henchmen were arresting that great barbecue guy. Oof. Yeah, you remember that. You remember that, Misty 4483. and I will be making a show on that. The anniversary is coming up. Um, I agree too about the newcomers, Phaenox. Phaenox, you were born in Quebec. Um, Simons says it started with the boomers. Faye says I'm a boomer. Let me tell you, don't get offended. You know what? I have been known to criticize boomers, and when I criticize boomers, it doesn't mean that I'm talking about I'm talking about all boomers, and I hope you're not either. Who said that? Simon. I hope you're not talking about all boomers because you can't say all people are this. What I will say about boomers is that the saying, uh, "Strong men create good times create weak men," and so on and so forth. World War II was a terrible time for the world, and that was fixed by the greatest generation, which were strong men. And the strong men created good times, the 50s and the early 60s. And there were a lot of boomers who were born in that good time who were comfortable, and they became weak and decadent, and they became hippies and Woodstock and all this stuff. And they created weak times. And we went through some weak times. And so, but that's not everybody. You can't say every boomer was like that. Just like me, I'm a millennial. I was born in the 90s, which were damn good times in the late 90s. And a lot of my people are weak as a result. They were decadent. The dot-com bubble, everything was good. 1999, the music was good, all this sort of stuff, and we became decadent, and we've created some hard times. And it looks like the people who were growing up during the COVID years, thanks to the big millennials and the boomers who created that, and some of the people after the boomers, are going through hard times. And I think if I could make a prediction, I think that the kids who were born in the COVID times are going to be some of the strongest people ever, and they are going to create some damn good times, I think. So that's just how life is. Anyway, before I let you guys go, I want to read the rest of these things. People are trained into living by certain rules and by voting for certain parties. To a certain extent, you're right. There is a difference between working a trade and getting an actual license to do so. Yes, you're right. You're right, Lady Luck. Quit bringing in foreigners. We have our own talent homegrown. Yes, I agree with that, Simon, but I will say this. To a certain extent, I agree with you, but I will say this. My parents were foreigners, but I will say this. First of all, if we're going to bring people in, they have to speak the language. They have to be qualified to work in a position where we need them, like a vital career where we need people like doctors or whatever. They need to respect our values. They need to be financially independent. Those are the criteria. Now, both of my parents, my mom, for example, um, she's Caribbean. She went to the United Kingdom to get her qualifications in nursing, and she was making money, but not a lot. And she heard about a nursing shortage in Canada in the early 90s in Ontario because we had a fool premier named Bob Ray with his Ray days, and many nurses were not, they were quitting and everything like that. And there was a nursing shortage. And Canada was so desperate for nurses, they were willing to break their arm for people to come in to be nurses. And she saw how much money was going to be made, and she said, "Well, okay, I'll go. I have family there and everything." She spoke the language. She respects the values. Um, she was a nurse, very qualified nurse. I mean, if you are trained by the British, you are you've got it made. So she went there. I mean, if she didn't move to Canada, I'd be born in the United Kingdom. Speaking with a British accent. I'd be speaking with a British accent because that's where she was going to stay. That is where she was going to lay her, to settle down. But she saw that Canada had a nursing shortage, so she decided to move to Oshawa in the early 90s. And my father moved there too, and they had me. And the sad thing about with my father though is that he's a British trained psychiatrist, and how when it comes to doctors, it's a lot trickier. And Pierre Polyev wanted to fix this. He's a psychiatrist, and they wanted to. He wanted to to train in Ontario, but they said, "Well, you're not trained in Canada. You're trained in the United Kingdom, so yeah, we don't want you to learn to be a psychiatrist in Ontario." You got people. There's a psychiatrist shortage in Ontario in the early '90s. You got people filling up these psychiatric wards just like they are now. Nova Scotia eventually took him, so that's why I moved to New Glasgow. So that's my story. So yeah, I agree with your thing about foreigners. I agree with your frustration about foreigners. We're bringing a lot of people in who don't speak the language. Markham is pretty much a colony of China, all this Chinese language. Nobody respects the valleys. Everything's ghettoized. I don't like that. We need to bring in people who will respect our values, speak our language, work in a trade, and also bring in people when we have the room for them. That's what I will say. My dad is from Iran, but he had to speak fluent English to come to Canada. You don't have to speak fluent English to come to Canada now. The silent generation actually gave birth to many Gen X like me. I was not raised by boomers, I was raised by the silent generation. Yeah, the silent generation. That whole barbecue was scary for you. Many of us, including you, were so worried. Gen X here. Boomers had it better. Some boomers are ashamed of their own generation. Yeah, just like some millennials are ashamed of their own generation. And that barbecue thing was a scary time, but you know what? It had to be done, and I would do it again. And we'll talk more about it when the anniversary comes. One of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. I see that. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. Carl Sagan, and the truck drivers and Tim Hortons workers. We are 5 years behind the UK. Well, I'll say this, and this is my last rant before I let you guys go. One thing about the UK, especially with the medical teaching, their training for medical professionals is far more stringent than America or Canada. One thing my dad always would tell me is that because he also became a professor when he came to the West, and he would say there was so much multiple choice in Canadian university, well, American universities, because he would be a professor in an American university. In Britain, when they ask you a question, and when they're training you to be a medical person, there's no multiple choice. They ask you the question and you have to give a paragraph about the answer. The answer has to be in the form of a paragraph. That's how they will grade you, and they will determine how if you pass that question based on what you've written. There's not no multiple choice. So the fact that the Ontario government was saying, well, to my father, well, we don't want you as a psychiatrist because you were trained in the United Kingdom, not in Ontario. And he moved here when Bob Ray was the premier and John Kretchen. I mean, it's just how this stupidity in Canada is not new. And remember, Pierre Poilievre wanted to change that because we have a doctor shortage even now. People wait for hours in the hospital because we don't have enough doctors and nurses. And there's another reason for that too. But that's one of the reasons. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna let you go. Cheers, Arana. Subscribed and following. Good to see you are still walking on the planet. Well, look, I'm always gonna be walking on the planet. If you ever hear that I committed suicide or something, well, let me tell you, it's not true. I would never do that. Never. Never. Somebody had to take me out. If you ever hear one day on the news, the commander in chief of Iran Nation killed himself, he was this and that and blah, blah, blah. Don't believe it. I was killed. I didn't kill myself. I would never do that. Never. I wouldn't do that to my fiance. I wouldn't do that to you guys. I wouldn't do that to my friends or my family. So, with that being said, this is the Iran Nation. Good night, guys.